What's going on, YouTube? Q back here again with another video for you. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you all the things you should never do in your manual transmission car. The car that I have is a 2019 Mustang GT350, only coming manual, so that's what we're going to be using as we ride along today as I demonstrate these things. A lot of these things cause wear and tear to the car, so please be mindful of that. I'm not trying to show extreme examples, but just letting you know some more of an informal video. So if you like stuff like that, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, browse the channel. Let's jump into today's video. When I first learned how to drive a manual, like some of these things, they get better with practice, but a few of these you can just straight up cut them out from the get-go. So as you get better, you smooth out things, but let's jump into a few of the things that I'm talking about that you should never do in your manual transmission. It'll damage the car, cause premature wear and tear, and that's things that you don't want to do if you can avoid it. So here we go. Shout out to my man's race car friends. He had his daughter in this video, and I have my daughter in my video today too. Wasn't planned, but it is what it is. Go check his video out. His channel is called Race Car Friends, RCF Crew on Instagram. But the first thing, and I was literally just committing this thing that you should never do in the manual, and I got to admit, this is a habit that is hard to break for me, and that is resting your hand on the shifter. So what that can do is prematurely wear out your shifting forks, and also it can cause premature damage to your synchro. So that would mess you up while you're shifting. It won't shift into gear smoothly. So you should not rest your hand on the shifter when you're not moving. What you should be doing if you're driving, I'm stopped right now, so when after you shift, take your hand off the shifter, back to the steering wheel. That way you can take control over your driving situation. And it's always good to have your hand on the steering wheel so you can be prepared to make a maneuver if you need to. So the second thing I want to talk about is properly shifting. So you want to be able to upshift and downshift properly. And that entails, like when you downshift, you blip the throttle. So going from third to second, add a little throttle, go into second. What you don't want to do is shift down into first gear. That's a no-no, because you can shift there, you can do a burnout. I actually did that in my Hellcat. But downshift. Oh crap, dog. But it wasn't even first gear. I was in like fourth gear going down to third, and I started fishtailing because it was too much power. And the same thing can happen in the first gear. If you must, go into second gear. If you're coming to a complete stop, just go into second gear and just shift it into neutral and then stop. Or if you're about to go around the corner, there should be enough power in second gear to go through the corner. Like right now I'm at like 1,000 RPM, and that's enough power in second gear to take off. So the opposite of that, you don't want to upshift too high to where you don't have enough power to go. Like say for now I'm going 30 miles an hour. I don't want to be in sixth gear because the engine will be lugging, or it'll be like bogging down power, and it'll want to stall. So you want to have enough power to where you can shift into the gear and have ample power to go, because you don't want to bog the engine down. So like if I'm doing 35 miles an hour, I don't want to go into sixth gear. Actually, let me try that now. And then floor it, like it's not doing anything, and the car starts to, if it gets too low, it'll want to shake. Like right now I'm turning like barely over 1,000 RPM. So you want to downshift, flip the throttle, and stay in a decent power band when you do shift. So that's additional wear and tear on the engine. But the third thing that you never want to do in the manual, and it kind of piggybacks off this, you do not want to downshift without adding throttle. So what we do, they call it blip the throttle and shift. So if you don't do that, that's considered engine braking. And some people actually do that to slow down, with just shifting without adding gas to slow the car down.
but that's actually wear and tear on the trans too. Like if you want to slow down, just use your brakes. I'd rather replace brake pads as opposed to my transmission, and then it just doesn't feel smooth. Like, look at my daughter back here, y'all. Jasper, say hi. All right, I'm about to downshift, and just watch her head go down. I'm a downshift without adding gas. You all right back there? That's why you don't want to do it. It's not necessary. So watch me go from third to second again while I blip the throttle. Actually, I screwed that one up. So do it again. Say hi, Jasper. Much smoother. So the next thing that you never want to do when driving the manual, and I forgot what number I'm on. Let's just say number 3. You don't want to come to a stop and just sit in gear. So that'll wear out your throwout bearing. So I'm coming to a complete stop right here. Don't just sit in gear. Like, that's wear and tear on the throwout bearing. Just sit in neutral. Just hold on your brake. Like I said, it's less wear and tear on other mechanicals that cost significantly more than brake pads. And another reason you don't want to sit in gear, so unfortunately this happened to me when I had my Scion FRS. I was sitting at a light and I just got rear-ended. Like, the light was red, the F-150 was behind me. He had a big truck, so my car was low. I don't know if he saw me. The light turned green, 2 cars in front of me, and he just rear-ended me. Like, I'm like, dude, I know you saw me sitting here for like the last 2 minutes, but he just rear-ended me. So if I were in gear and, like, say if I got knocked unconscious or couldn't react fast enough, the car would keep rolling, like, because it's in a gear. It'll go until it stops. If you're in neutral, it won't continue to go because it's out of gear. It'll just roll and stop, and that's easier to hit the brakes that way. So you can go forward, but if you're just sitting on the brakes, then you'll just stop. But if you're in gear, you'll tend to roll forward more. So the 4th thing you never want to do in the manual is what I've been known to call as riding the clutch. So basically what that is, and this is definitely something that newer drivers tend to do because you're just not used to modulating the clutch and the accelerator at the same time, and it takes practice. You'll get better over time, trust me. But riding the clutch is when you depress the clutch, which is, this doesn't make sense to me, but you press the clutch in and you add the gas. When you add power to the accelerator, the RPMs go up, and then you kind of take too long to get off the clutch. So what you want to do is be real smooth with it. So beginners, they tend to add a lot of throttle, and they'll add a lot of throttle, and they'll take too long to come off the clutch, or they'll like release the clutch too fast, and that's another thing. But they'll release the clutch too fast or just take so long to get off the clutch. It should be a smooth transition, so you don't want to be doing that too long. That prematurely wears out the clutch. So most of the things I'm talking about will wear out the mechanicals quicker if you don't get good at doing these things. A thing that I like to do with beginners, I get them in the parking lot, not only have them use the clutch and like a car with enough torque, like this car has enough torque to do it, but they got to figure out where that biting point is. And around that biting point, you got to know when to release. And it's a learning curve, but once you figure it out, you'll get better over time. So you can just slowly ease off the clutch, add to the accelerator, and it'll be much smoother. So you don't spend so much time just on the clutch and on the accelerator at the same time, because that'll prematurely wear out the clutch, and you don't want to do that. So the final thing that you never want to do in a manual transmission car is add too much gas at takeoff. And I know this is for normal driving. If you want to do a burnout, help yourself and do it all day long. That's how you do a burnout. You get the accelerator in the power band and you just release the clutch, what they call dumping the clutch. And that's how you get to do a burnout. All the power is there, you just release it all at one time. That's how you do a burnout. But in normal driving, you don't need that much power to move. Like, I was moving at 1500 RPM. For me, for most of the cars that I have, I generally like to keep it around 2000 RPM and modulate the accelerator to where it stays around there, and as I release off the clutch, it kind of sticks around there. As soon as it engages into the gear, I'm off the clutch. So when I first started, it was very difficult for me to modulate the clutch and the gas at the same time. So I had a Ford Fusion that I was driving, the first car that I had that was a manual that I owned, and that's where I got most of my practice. I'll be at like 4,000 RPM, and that car was very low horsepower, 2008 manual Ford Fusion. So I only did 16 miles an hour in first gear. I was at 4,000 RPM, and that's in a power band on that car. So every time I take off, I'm just darting out, and you don't want to do that, because that's prematurely wearing out your clutch. It's basically like I'm setting up to do a burnout every time I take off, and that's what you don't want to do. Clutches are expensive. Just take your time, drop it down. Like, I don't think you should be able to, you don't need to launch higher than 2,500 RPM. Like I said, if you're a newbie, then you'll get used to it, but try your hardest not to rev it up to 4,000 RPM. That's just too much gas. So that's all of the things that you never want to do in a manual transmission car. So you only need the clutch when you're shifting gears. After you're in the gear, like, you don't need to be on the clutch at all. So just smoothly transition that off. So I used to work with people, and they're just always on the clutch. I'm like, dog, get off the clutch. Like, you're just wearing it out. And you can smell it. Like, it smells like hot metal when you do it. So that's how you know you're doing something wrong. Like, it shouldn't smell like anything when you're driving a manual. That means you're burning something up, and it's most likely the clutch that you're prematurely wearing out. So be cognizant of all these things, and your car, the mechanicals, will last a lot longer. I got to work on this rest of my hand here, because it's just a bad habit. With that being said, get out here, drive these manuals. Don't abuse them. I'm Q with another video here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, browse the channel, and I'll check you out on the next video. Peace out.